having a conversation.
Yes.
Um, as of late, it's come to light with me. We're gonna do a free workshop on sexual health and wellness. It's gonna be free to the community. Definitely love to see some people from our community out there. How you feel about that?
I think it is needed, and I think the fact that it is free should make it nice and enticing. No excuses about you can't afford it. I know you have other issues going on. People have other things that might seem more important, but in the long run, nothing is more important than your sexual health and wellness, other than your mental health and wellness.
Well, to be honest, it just seems to me, looking around, that black people are all people of color or melanated people sometimes seem to think that certain things don't apply to their community because when you talk about sexual health and wellness, people seem to think that has to do with are they having sex or their ability to have sex, sexual engagement. And it's really, that's not necessarily really what we're talking about when we talk about sexual health and wellness.
And sometimes it brings to mind visits to the gynecologist's office, and we're not talking about that either.
Well, there are medical components,
Hmm.
but we don't deal from the medical side as far as like being doctors. Not even though we suggest different herbs and different remedies, we're not naturopaths or things of that nature trying to necessarily deal with the actual in-depth treatment of certain issues. We can, people sometimes don't realize that we're all on a journey here.
Right.
And then in your health and wellness overall, total system, holistic type of wellness, it is a journey. And many times, with all the information that people are seeing or being bombarded with, they're looking to go 0 to 100. Going, I'm going to change my life tomorrow and I'm just going to become this highly spiritual, enlightened person. I'm going to do all these things that are positive and I'm going to be some kind of way in this perfection state.
Right.
And like when we were on the radio show, I talked about the fact that what we really focus on are practical, easy things people can do to really get through the gate towards a better path on their journey, not taking them 0 to 100. Maybe 0 to 50. Let's get you started. Let's get some momentum going.
Exactly. Let's just begin. Just having the thought is positive, but then just take the steps just to begin, just to start, with small things that may seem insignificant, but really in the long run can help.
Yeah, I talked a little bit about my personal journey and our journey. We shared that with people. But the bottom line is, we really enjoy this work. Like you said, it's a labor of love
Right.
because the specific tools and methods and things we use, they not only are going to increase a personal health, which is your wealth, but they're going to bring you expansive freedom and joy in your life and how you relate with yourself and then others, and to expanding and opening yourself to the intimacy and the loving type of partnerships and relationships you deserve in your life. Many of us are suffering because we don't have these good relationships. We are in post traumatic slavery kind of mindsets.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a lot of disorder, pathological behavior, dysfunction going on within our households and within our communities, and it starts with the individual self. And as a people, we've got to understand we have to make a choice, small daily choices that you can make to be better. It's not some grandiose program, it's not some wonderful thing. People love to get these wonderful stories in their head about this perfection, and it's not about that. It's about getting better in an incremental, easy way that can really help you.
Right.
Uh, we have programs that build and restore creative energy, meaning sexual energy, that is going to help your health and vitality for what's known as long life or your longevity. You have to have a practical regimen that's going to ensure you maintaining high levels of sexual creative energy. You're not going to do that unless you can create the safe space and have these practices and methods that can work and work on you and through you from a physiological basis. Talk therapy doesn't work.
Right.
There's a very small space for the talk therapy. I mean, you have something to share with that?
Um, my experience personally with talk therapy is that you do need to get it out so you can move past it, but that can't be the only avenue you take, because just talking about it and then never doing anything to heal doesn't help. So yeah, you've talked about it, you've got it out. You want to move past it, but you need to heal to move past it. So you have to work on that aspect of it too.
Well, look, we all want more out of life. We want more money. We want good or better health. We want to be happy. We want to be fulfilled. We want to be satisfied. We want to be able to share individually and together. So here's the thing: most of us are finding out in the later years in life that's much harder than it is easier, and it's not as enjoyable as we once thought it could be. Okay, your sexual health and wellness is the key to your better health, increase wealth, because there's a lot of cost that goes with being unhealthy and living in dysfunction.
Right.
And then the enjoyment of a lengthy, more fulfilled life. In order to be happy, you must be able to accept, respect, and connect first with yourself and then with others. It's not going to happen otherwise. There's no secret blessing or secret recipe or just reading something or thinking that as long as I got the information, that's good enough. It's never been good enough, and it's not going to work.
Right.
I feel like in our community, people take the information, and many times you've got people over these past 6 months that have transitioned. A lot of great people that have put a life work into educating and helping our community get better and be better. And many people love and respect them, but these people have many issues that the community could have helped out with if they knew.
Right.
So the information wasn't shared and people didn't know, and that's sad. And that's just a bad thing that is prevalent in our community, and we really have to stop that. We really have to look out for the people that are out there trying to help our community, the elders and other folks that are sharing this information, and get the information and actually use it. I get so blah, like so many other people, when you hear these people asking the same questions over and over and over, which means they're not applying the information given. The basics are never going to change. And because we've been so misguided in our indoctrination, and we keep following the same paths that, our parents gave us what they could give us. They weren't perfect people. Some of the stuff they used was great. Some of the stuff was just old superstitious tradition that at this day and age doesn't have a place.
True.
Can you really see that?
Yeah, I can really see it. I see it in our everyday life. I see it being a black woman. I see it having conversations with other black women. I see it having conversations with my brothers. We grew up in the church, and there's nothing wrong with going to church, but I don't think that a lot of that old school fire and brimstone, you going to hell if you don't do this, that, or the other, is helpful. It just makes people especially when it comes to your sexuality and your sexual health and wellness, it makes puts people in more fear than they already are. So if you were afraid to have the conversation before, going to church on Sunday morning, hearing the pastor say, if you're looking at another man's wife, or if you're having thoughts of carnal thoughts of somebody other than your wife or husband, you're gonna burn in hell.
While he's sleeping with other people's wives
Amen.
or little boys.
So it's like, I don't understand that. You
It's
can't
called
follow
being
the
a human
man.
being, and being a human, being trapped in the same mindsets that a lot of all our community is. The broader community definitely is. So you can't look at the mainstream and think if I'm gonna follow them, you in a burning house. You're gonna follow them right to
Exactly.
your death.
That's what I'm saying. You can't follow the man, and he is not who you follow. You follow source. You follow God. You don't follow this man who's been put there, because he's just like the rest of us. And we get so lost in all that.
Yeah. There's three things I want to hit on quickly, and I want you to talk about them as I put them out there because the females are interested. When we talk about our community not really being interested in the sexual health and wellness, not realizing how, from a total perspective, that ties into everything else in your life.
Right.
That's why it is a broad topic. And yeah, you can have sex while you're dysfunctional,
Mm-hmm.
but what happens is your relationships and your sex life become defunct, invalid, negative. You don't get out of them what you really want out of them, what you saying you want, but you're practicing these things that are never going to give you what you say you want. So the first thing with that is I see a lot of disrespect, especially given to the women and amongst the women. And I just feel like when it comes to your sexual health and wellness, women need to understand and men need to enforce. By understand, I mean the women's role in that because it's all complementary.
Mm-hmm.
Women should be educating, being creative, and inspiring, and the men should be the example, suggesting, and practicing. So, the women, you're educating yourself and other sisters, being creative in how you apply that, and then inspiring the men to follow along and do the right things, get into some better practices, get better with yourself, learn how to heal your sexual traumas and dramas so that you can be whole and bring that to your relationship. The brothers should be setting the example, especially the older ones for the younger ones,
Right.
and then suggesting to brothers that are acting out in ways that are negative, treating the sisters wrong, going about their sex the wrong way, and then practicing that themselves, and that goes back to being that example. So, and I feel like all of that goes into that respect mode of that it's just not there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, can you elaborate on that a little bit?
When you say respect, you mean respect amongst the men and the women?
Respect of self and then respect amongst each other.
Well, you said it right there, respect of self. If you don't have self-respect, how are you expecting either the male or the female to respect anybody else? And it all goes back to the same thing with love. How are you expecting somebody to love you if that woman or man doesn't love themselves? It's just not possible. Yeah, they could live with you, they can have sex with you, but they can't genuinely give you unconditional love because they don't have it for themselves. And you have to get to a place, both the male and the female, when you have self respect. A lot of men and a lot of women, unfortunately, in our community, have lost that because they want to do, the fast Housewives of Atlanta life and sit around thinking, oh, I'm going to be discovered. So let me go out here half butt naked and show what I got so somebody will see me, so somebody will notice me. Let me spend my money on my weave and my fake nails and my color contacts because I need to be noticed. I need to be discovered. What is that foolishness about? Then you have brothers who, pay more attention to the rims on their car than they do their children, or they pay attention more to what design or label they got going across the back of their ass, or what they're wearing on their feet. Who's Jordans or who's whatever, more than they do what's going on with their community or their next door neighbor or their freaking family members, for that matter. So self-respect is so low on the totem pole that if that's not taken care of first, then you're not going to have it amongst the couples or husbands and wives or relationships, where men and women are together. It has to stem from the self first, and then you can talk about the women respecting their men and the men respecting their women, but if it doesn't start with the self first, it's no good.
Hmm. Okay, another major point: procreation. A lot of people feel like, again, when you talk about sexual health and wellness, uh, they only see that from a standpoint, oh, you're talking about being able to have a baby, being able to procreate, because you may be in the mindset that that's what sex is for, or that's the only thing you think about sex. And the pleasure component, yeah, it's pleasurable because you're getting ready to get pregnant or try to get pregnant or something. I feel like for women, you got to understand the birth of the child. You don't need the birth of the child in order to feel whole. That's a societal product and a byproduct of the breeding from slavery. Men, fathering requires a 3D approach: desire, discipline, and determination. Period. Period. Because if you don't desire to be a father, you're not wanting to be there. That's
Right.
just it. Discipline. If you haven't had it, you're gonna learn it real quick. If
Right.
you're gonna take care of a child, and determination, things are gonna happen, and you got to be ready to push through.
Right.
So if you don't have those 3Ds as a man, forget about being a father or a parent. Just forget about it. You have to have that. What do you think?
I think that both the male and female really need to be clear about becoming parents. Just like when we listen to the Dr. Jewel clip, and she's talking about when you decide you want to have a child, who you're lying down with makes a big difference in what you are creating. If you are a female or a male, lying down with some crackhead or some cokehead or some person who is negative or runs the neighborhood cult for children, or pedophile or whatever, that energy is translated into the child. Whatever you create, you have to think about that when you're lying down with somebody. And for the brothers, just randomly going out and sleeping with women, if she says to you, well, you know what, don't worry about it, brother, I'm on the pill. Don't worry about it. I can't have children. Don't worry about it. I got the implant. I got the Norplant. I got the whatever plant they sticking up in you these days. If you know you are not ready to be a father, then wrap that thing up 2, 3, 4 times if that's what you have to do.
Well, how about not doing it at all? Let's just cut to the chase.
Yeah, well, abstinence doesn't work.
If you're, well, it's not about abstinence. It's about if you can get pleasure sexually in a variety of other ways. Everything from using other body parts, not anal, to pleasuring yourself while that other person is there.
Right.
You don't have to have full out intercourse or coitus. That's the first thing. If somebody's pressuring you for it and you're not ready or you don't want to, whether you're male or female, it's too easy to walk away.
Right.
If that means the end of the relationship, then you definitely need to be there.
For sure.
The young people definitely need to know that, but forget young people. You have adults who can't seem to wrap their head around that. Because let's again be very clear and serious. Many of our elders and scholars have talked about it. You are playing with life. If you're not serious, again, as the men, the whole 3D program, as the women, you are the vessel in which life comes to this place. No matter which religion, belief you want to hold on to, you as women are the vessel. So therefore, women coming out and babies popping up here and there, unwanted, so-called illegitimate, because there's no such thing, uh, neglected, not taken care of, or in our community straight up aborted. All of that is madness, and they're playing with life. You have to stop that. And if you don't think that's affecting your sexual health and wellness, and that energy doesn't come back around, it definitely does. Right. And it changes everything. And we have to just come to grips with that fact to not do that. A lot of the men, yeah, I said it before. If I told you I had tuberculosis and you just had to be with me, so you say, okay, fine, put on a condom and I can be with you. Are you going to do that? Think about what that really means. So a person is telling you or showing you they're ill, but you don't care because you just want to get off. And you're so, as the kids say now, thirsty, but as we say, horny or whatever label you use on it, you so in need that you're going to feel like, well, I'm going to protect myself by this either latex or some other material which have been proven to be bad, have been proven to mess with women's vaginas, and sometimes mess with the men. The spermicidal lubricant they use in it is bad. I mean, if you're going to do that and you don't want to have children, and you just like, I still want to have the sex, and I'm choosing to have the sex, find the natural ways to do that. We cover some of that, and we'll be covering some of that and the things we do. But the natural birth control is there. You take the time to educate yourself. Take the time to follow those methods and do them. Nothing is 100% safe other than not ejaculating. And it's not always the night that you do it because the semen hangs out. Right. A lot of people are not educated on just how your body is working and how things are happening. You need to stop with the madness. Stop playing with life. Procreation is not the only reason for sex, and your sexual health and wellness, this dysfunction, this craziness that's going on in our families that is not being voiced and talked about and dealt with. And too many times right now the conversation is about dealing with the perpetrators, but not dealing with especially the women that are being assaulted, molested, abused, both physically and emotionally, in these homes, in these communities, because you have to deal with that. We have modalities to deal with those traumas and dramas that help relieve them, help eliminate them, so the women can return to their wholeness, foster a better way to be in themselves. Sometimes they try to tell the parents or the mothers or the fathers or the brothers and get everything from it's your fault to a blank response. It's no good. People need relief from that. And people are carrying these traumas and dramas around. I'm going to mention something about that here at the end. But it's just, it needs to stop. You're playing with life. And all the responsible adults out there need to be carrying that message. You stop allowing people to play with life. Bring it up. Love styles. Okay? A lot of big talk right now in the black community. Polygamy versus monogamy. Multiple women. Nobody really talking about the whole multiple men thing side of it. So, of course, the sisters are a little like, well, I ain't trying to hear that. Okay, this double standard. But the bottom line, we say monogamy and polygamy. Truly in our community, we should be talking about exclusivity and sharing. You have to have the right language to understand what you're talking about and applying it properly. We have the wrong language. We shouldn't be using the terms monogamy and polygamy. We should be talking about exclusivity or sharing. That's it. And majority as women, as you always say, are already sharing. So women amongst women need to start having a real conversation. Women got to understand it's not one size fit all. That's the fairy tale and the fantasy. You've been given an illusion, Sister Ali said it, you've been given an illusion of truth that is not the truth, and that's why you are so heartbroken, because you are tying love to your sex. That is the wrong place to be. Men, this whole multiple women thing, common sense and practicality dictate more than traditions and rhetoric. What that means in layman's terms, stop trying to tell me about ancient practices in Africa and Egypt, about the multiple women that you can have, and start talking and all the rhetoric that you spitting out of your mouth. Because if you're not practicing it in a wholesome way that the women have created, and the only person I've seen with any kind of program towards some kind of shared relating in a practical method viable for our community is Hakim Booty in his book,
right.
Black Men Obsolete, Singular, and Dangerous, where he talked about the sisters over 35 and the brothers over 40, and how it's the sisters that approach him and the things that they look at in order to determine if he's in that mode that even make that possible.
That's true, because you can't just do it with anybody.
Right, and we'll do a clip right on that, right from the pages of that book, and talk about that, because everybody talking about everything else, and they throwing all these religion and religious sites in it, people joining cults, and brothers thinking, oh, I'm going to have 4 women working for me and all this. It's stupid. It's nickel and dime, pimping and horn. They need to stop it. Okay? It doesn't mean you can't have different relating styles. We need that kind of options, those kind of options in our community, but we don't need to try to follow something that can't be applied now, and we don't need to be listening to people that aren't even doing it.
Right. Exactly.
You got single people trying to tell people in relationships how they need to get down. What kind of madness is that? I mean, come on, talk about that.
It's true. I mean, we follow behind everyone but the right one, and we get caught up in what we always say is that European mindset, which has nothing to do with us, but we don't even realize it because we're so comfortable in it. We're so used to it. It's passed down, and I'm not embarrassed to say it was passed down from my mother to me, because that's all she knew. And that's all she knew because that's all her mother knew. And so on and so on. It's like the Fabergé commercial. It just keeps going on and on and on and on and on till somebody takes the time, makes the effort to have the conversation. Women need to speak amongst themselves and not be afraid to speak amongst themselves about shared living. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not ashamed of it. I will talk to any woman, whatever color, about it. And I am more than happy for you to have your opinion. But don't dare say anything to me about how I live my life. That I'm making a choice, or, oh, what, that makes no sense, or, you're stupid to want to share your man. I've heard it all, like I told you this afternoon. Oh, don't talk to her because she'll sleep with your husband. And you're right. I will most certainly sleep with your husband. And don't even think for a second I won't. But what I will not do is sleep with your husband behind your back. And I will not let your husband lie to you about the fact that he wants to sleep with me. And I will not get your approval. It's a conversation that the Venuses need to have. It has nothing to do with the Mars. He is going to want to do it, period. And that's not a dig. That's not... well, that's just how men are. It's the truth. The man wants to be with other women. They are with other women. It happens all the time. But have the conversation about it. Be open about it. The women need to discuss it. Look, your man approached me and said, he's got some feelings for me and he'd like to pursue them. So how do you feel about that? Now, if she's looking at me like I have 3 eyes and an extra set of boobs, then I know she ain't really feeling it. And that's the end of that. But if she wants to have a conversation about it, if she even wants to know, well, why do you feel that? Did he say something to you? I'll tell her everything she wants to know. Because there's no reason to be secretive about it. Be open. Well, maybe she doesn't even realize it because
a lot of the people now are feeling like, well, imagine it in their head that the woman is going off when you approach her about that. And again, that comes back to us respecting self and being mature. Woman to woman, you want another woman to not, so it's not about ratting on the man.
No.
It's about being informed.
Exactly.
What you should already know. And you should already have those conversations with your husband or mate. If you are looking to be exclusive with them, you tell them, hey, I'm looking to be exclusive with you, your one and only show. Don't be going out here looking for extra and this and that and that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do, this is how I feel about it. Either we're completely done, all that ripping, right, fighting and back and forth and all that nonsense is ridiculous. It's right, it's not necessary. Now, how are you supposed to live with this person? You've been fighting, cutting each other, burning clothes, throwing all this stuff, and I'm supposed to come back and be with that?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. But if you mature and have a mature conversation,
right,
and the woman to woman,
you have to.
You're having conversations and you're saying, look, sis, the brother's interested in me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not making this up.
And I'm definitely not coming to you to poke it in your face. I'm coming to you so you understand. Look, your man has these feelings. How do you feel about that?
Well, why you got these feelings? What you do? I didn't do anything. He approached me.
Exactly. It has nothing
and so,
to do
see,
with that.
that's the first. We so quick with it
mm-hmm.
because the lack of self-respect leads to the lack of you being able to handle and deal with these adult situations in life. We think we're grown. We think we're able to handle X, Y, and Z, and we haven't been doing it. We haven't had the language to do it. We haven't had the practice to do it. Okay? And that's what it really comes down to. Being mature and woman enough. Are you woman enough to have the conversation? Don't mean you got to agree with it.
Mm-hmm.
It means, are you woman enough to have the conversation?
Right.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to talk to my husband because I don't believe in that. I believe in being exclusive.
Exactly.
Okay, well, thank you. So now we on the same page.
That's
so
right.
if he's coming at me, and I let him know I was going to talk to you, and bring that up.
You have to.
When the brother's bringing up, say, you know, oh, you married. I'm going to have a conversation with your wife.
That's it.
Or what are you going to talk to my wife for? You are pressing up on me, brother.
Right.
You have a wife,
mm-hmm.
and this and that. Okay? Even worse, if you're married, you say, well, you're interested in me. You need to have a conversation with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
How many going to do that? Oh, I got to go talk to them. Yeah, you joking. I ain't going to tell your husband I'm interested in you. Well, if you can't do that, then why are you going to disrespect him behind his back?
Because
why are you going to disrespect that woman behind her back?
Right.
Give the man your number. Well, I was just texting him. We weren't doing stuff. See, that's the madness and the games and the bull crap that's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to stop it, get mature. Women need to be dealing with women from a higher space and then check the men on it. Because the men going to do what you allow. And you allow what you don't know.
And just nip it in the bud.
But you don't go goofball crazy over it. You raise the level of the conversation and raise the level of the expectation. Okay, brother, if you want to go out here and do that, and I know you're not fixed, and I know you're not this and that and that, maybe we need to put a monetary value on it. Let's hit it where it counts, sister. Maybe he needs to put a monetary value on it. Maybe he needs to put a different level of expectation on it. Well, if that's what you want to do, you need to be able to do X, Y, and Z. And then maybe I can see myself being comfortable with that. Stop going off about stuff you can't control and talk about what you can control, because you're not going to control people's behavior.
No. If that's what the man wants to do, he's going to do it.
Or he's going to run to some strumpets where you're really going to have issues to worry about. Okay, last thing. A lot of our people don't understand the tie-in and the reason the sexual health and wellness is so important, because that's an energy and it permeates all areas of your life. Again, we don't get into, I'm going to take you from 0 to 100. I'm going to take you from 0 to 10. Sometimes only I can get you to 5. 0 to 50 at best, because you headed in the right direction. It's individual work you have to do. We go over modalities and practices and help open up pathways. Nobody heals anybody.
Right.
People heal themselves. Stop believing in these doctors and other people. They do not heal you, and Western medicine does not work on black people. If you haven't figured that out yet, go do the research. It's out there. It's proven. It's scientific. It's not made up pop science junk. The blood is different. You are different. It does not work for you. Okay? What does work for you are things that work from the organic energy. Those are the methods and modalities we get into. What people don't understand is this. Adverse childhood trauma is the number one factor that determines your health and wellness throughout your entire life.
Right.
We have a lot of adverse trauma and dramas coming from sexual molestation, sexual assault, sexual games, and this and that goes on throughout our lives, relationship illness, all kinds of things that happen to us early and in our adolescence and younger years that is permeating and making people sick throughout their life.
That's right.
Okay, and how that goes is after those things happen, your social and emotional cognitive impairment happens. Basic bottom line, what that means, you don't know how to relate to folk and you don't know how to deal with yourself. Your emotions are all out of whack.
Right.
That's how you get this prayer. Well, I'm bipolar. Bipolar doesn't mean anything. Everybody's bipolar. What it means is you out of balance when you acting crazy. Oh, I'm fine about 7 hours a day, and then the rest of the time I'm just, don't say nothing to me. I get whacked out. You're out of balance.
Right.
Okay. All this creates risky behaviors and bad life conditions, and it's an addiction. Those risky behaviors and bad life conditions permeate. People get pregnant. You pass it on to those children.
That's right.
It's spread throughout the community, infecting families. Families break down. Communities break down. That's how bad it gets. All these things lead to disease, disability, and social issues. Do we need to say more about that? We don't need to talk about any diseases, the disabilities, and the social issues permeating, especially the melanated community. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You're touched. We're all touched by it. Okay? All these things lead to early death or deadly encounters, which again lead to early death.
Right.
That's what it is in a nutshell. When you can get yourself relieving those traumas, getting rid of those traumas, doing things to help you get back in balance, especially through your sexual channels, that's your creative energy, you can go on to lead better, more productive, more healthy, more wonderful lives from a holistic standpoint. That's it in a nutshell. You don't have to spend tons of money.
Right.
You don't have to go to any outrageous places. You don't have to put your business in the street. You don't have to keep going to some counseling session and sit on the couch and talk to somebody or go to a group and talk to some people once a week. Okay? It's what you're doing, and what you change your mindset, you change your life. You're not going to change your mindset without doing certain things to break the rhythm. You break the rhythm by breaking up those different physiological things that are going on inside you. And that's the kind of work we do.
Right.